Okay, welcome back, Noah Zacharin. Well, this is the second portion of your show tonight, and this is what we call the hot seat, the interview. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Yay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I guess probably the best place to start is at the beginning. Do tell us a little bit about you, where you grew up, a little bit about your life history there.
Grew up in Montreal, Quebec. Pretty low-key life for the first few years. Don't really remember too much about it. Probably did the usual things, wore shorts, played street hockey, read books, went to camp, and we lived a block away from a park, and there was a day camp there, and for a year we went to day camp. A little pool, and as I was leaving one morning to go home, walk home for lunch, I remember a vision of loveliness sitting by the pool. Someone I remember as being a very old woman who was probably a counselor of 15 years old. And she was playing a ukulele. And I may not have known it was a ukulele, because when I got home, I said to my parents, I would like a guitar, please. And I have I don't know why I asked so insistently, and why it was so obvious to me that I needed to have a guitar. But before I turned 10, I got my first guitar, and I've never stopped playing. When I was about 14 or 15, I stopped playing basketball and volleyball and participating in sports because I didn't want to hurt my hands. Mm-hmm. And I focused on music, and I've been playing really ever since I got my first guitar.
Wow.
Yeah, just listening and playing and writing.
So you're by ear. You're just a self-taught person.
No, I took lessons.
You did?
The first year I took lessons with a man, Mr. Katz, God bless him. I taught me chords, how to read guitar music a little bit. And then after 1 year of lessons, I quit because I thought I knew enough. And I went back to him a year after hiatus. Took more lessons with him, and I took classical guitar lessons on and off with various teachers for a little while. But I was never very serious about. I wasn't very good, disciplined in terms of practicing. So I have a little bit of a classical repertoire. There's a few pieces that I can sort of fake my way through, and I can revive them. But for the most part, I've learned by listening to records and going out to see people play and watching what they're doing, and just playing a lot, like 10,000 hours times 4
So
or 5.
how did you come to find out that you could write songs? When did that start?
The first song I wrote was very derivative. I probably was 12 or 13. There was a girl in high school.
It's always that girl, isn't it?
Yeah. And she was the most beautiful girl in the school. And twice in the 4 years of high school, we crossed paths. And all I could say to her was, so I wrote her a song instead. It was a complete ripoff of a Cat Stevens song. Mm-hmm. But that was my first song, and then maybe a year later I started writing songs. My first song was called School Day Blues, and my second song was called Schoolboy Blues. Didn't really much go for the school stuff.
Yeah.
And then I just started writing. So I would have been about 14 or 15, and I still have all of the handwritten lyrics.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. There's one lyric. It's called Country Joy. That I think I got the title off of a John McLaughlin tune. I was a big Mahavishnu Orchestra fan.
Okay.
When they started coming out, and I can't read it. It's faded. I wrote it all in like 4H pencil.
Oh, wow.
And I've tried. I tried to. I photographed it and I tried to enhance it. And I can't read all of them.
Yeah.
But and that was just, so that probably says a lot about my philosophy of things that don't last and whatever. It doesn't really matter. I've written other songs since then. But so I've been writing since then and writing instrumentals as well. I don't play them too often. Most every record I've ever released has had at least one instrumental piece on it. I tend not to perform them live just because I feel like it distances the audience unless they're guitar centric. So I tend to, the human voice is a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it just started and never stopped.
Great. So your parents, were you an only child?
I was until my sister showed up.
Oh, wow.
A year and a half later.
Was there any musical people in your family? Is your sister musical?
My dad, they all appreciated it, and when my dad was I think he was in his 60s, he started taking a half day of work off and started taking piano lessons. I believe he took lessons when he was young.
Okay.
But it was a hardworking generation, and they were children of immigrants who had a very strong ethic of try to stay safe, and the only way you can do that is by making a living.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe he took lessons when he was younger, and he started taking half days of work off and taking piano lessons. And I was so fortunate to be able to go to his teacher's recital. It was all of his teacher's students.
Right. And
it took place in Place des Arts in Montreal, which is a beautiful hall for music. And he was by far the oldest student. He was not he made more mistakes than the younger kids. But I believe I'm capable of an objective assessment of what he was by far had the most feel and the most joy and love and musicality in his playing.
Right.
So he probably had a lot of it. He didn't get to use it too much in the years that I was growing up, but we had the piano in the house, and in the later years he took lessons, and he would always go into the piano room and hang out there. And when I moved from when I had to, no, I was already living in Toronto when my dad left the house. He went into an apartment for seniors. I found lodging for the piano, and just this year, my buddy sent me it was pretty classless of him, to be honest. Like 4 days before he had to move, he said, "By the way, we got to move. Do you want the piano?"
Oh man!
And Montreal to Toronto it's where I'm living. It's about 4 hours. So I thought about it for about 3 seconds, and I said, "Of course I have to have that. I already have a piano and a pump organ that I rescued from a church that had closed down local to me, and I don't really play all that much piano, but I got the piano delivered, and I'm going to get it tuned in November. I have the piano tuner is going to come over, and I'm going to start playing. I used to play quite a lot on that piano, but I started writing something a few days ago about having my dad's piano and going to get it in tune. And it's also the piano that I sort of pretended I was McCoy Tyner. And I bang away at these big chords and it's a beautiful instrument. It's actually classified as a percussion instrument, as you probably know, because you don't make direct contact with the part of the instrument that's making the sound.
Right.
It's just banging. So that was a long road.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I think Dad was a musician, but he didn't really get a chance to be one.
Yeah. Too bad y'all couldn't have played together.
Yeah. Yes, that is absolutely true. Yes. And when we were growing up, they all played recorder. My mom and him played recorder, and we went to music camp a couple of summers. I have all their recorders. I still don't think I shouldn't say this out loud. I don't know. I mean, I know that people make real music on a recorder, but there's something so pure about the sound that it the thing about musical instruments is all the overtones and that give it the distinctive sound of what they are. And I think that a recorder is very pure sine wave, so it's almost like synthesized. I think it's a real instrument, and probably I'll. I have all of them, and they have like little ones all the way. My mom played a bass. I think I have a bass recorder.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah. So we did play as a family at the camp, but not really.
Yeah. Well, I would guess then that they were probably pretty happy with you and supported you in your musical endeavors. And,
yeah, in whatever way was available to them.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it. I mean, their work ethic was what it was, and music is a very unreliable field of endeavor, and requires a great deal of kindness from strangers. and in that respect as well, it's not predictable. So
right.
It wasn't a lauded decision on my part.
Yeah.
It was on my part. It was lauded, but not on parents.
Yeah. Well.
So, but they were supportive in whatever way they were able to, and
yeah. So other than the really cute chick playing the ukulele by the pool, would you say that people that you've mentioned, like Guy Clark, Jesse Winchester, Bob Dylan, were they more of a musical influence for you and contributed to a lot of your writing thoughts, style?
Yeah, we had a record lending library in Montreal when there were records. And it was run by an almost deaf Englishman. And I discovered the library, and basically you would go in, you could take out records, borrow them for a week, and then bring them back. And I started taking out records by Dave Van Ronk and Mississippi John Hurd and Robert Johnson before he became a rock star, Reverend Gary Davis, Sonny Terry Brandon McGee, Patrick Skye. My first influences when I was probably 6 or 7. My parents had this 4-record set from Vanguard called American Folk Singers and Balladeers, and it was probably determined my path for a long time. That was the first time I heard Doc Watson.
Oh yeah.
And Odetta was on there, and Eric Darling. So that was and Mississippi John Hurd. That was the first place I ever heard him, and he was probably my first guitar hero, and then others followed, John Fahey, Bert Jans.
So there's just a whole melting pot of people.
Oh yeah,
that
and Dave Bromberg, was very influential in my hearing what I wanted to play.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of people. Van Ronk was huge for me.
Yeah. So have you done a lot of traveling around the United States and performing?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit late to the game, to be honest.
No, never too late.
It's not too late, but I was late. But I have. I go to the Southeast quite a lot, to Tennessee and North Carolina, and this is my second trip to Texas. The first one was last year. I did a showcase at SWRFA at the conference in Austin, and other than a quick rest stop when I took the bus from New York to California when I was 20, we stopped somewhere in Texas, and I had a bowl of soup and got back on that was my first trip last year, and this is my first trip traveling around and playing, and I sure hope it isn't my last.
Well, we sure hope not either.
I would like to come back at least once a year.
Yeah.
If not more.
Well, I will say Texas is a fabulous place for the singer-songwriter.
Oh, yeah.
They just, people in Texas just embrace it, and not just, in this area, but all over.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have, or Ken Gaines is a friend of ours. I'm sure he's a friend of yours because
he is a friend now. He's one of the fellas that I met at the conference, and I immediately knew that the way people see songwriting in Texas is very unique. Mm-hmm. And I knew that theoretically based on some of the people who come out of Texas, but the appreciation that I felt for the work that I do, and the appreciation that I felt for the work that others were doing, there's such a high level of craft and care being taken, both with the songwriting and guitar playing. So it's a really great combination, and it's very convenient because I love both of those things. As I said, I go to the Southeast quite a lot, and I love it there too. And sort of like if you when you're in North Carolina, you say, "Oh yeah, I'm a big Doc Watson fan." Immediately, they're your friend, right? Because they have a lot of pride in their people. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing down here, but down here I feel like songwriting is understood in a more, not a better, but in a different way that seems to me more profound and more focused on the craft of songwriting.
Well, it's funny because I know if you watch The Voice or American Idol and shows like that, all of a sudden there's been a real shift in the past couple of years to the singer-songwriter, that's really pretty sought after. Okay. So, they're late to the party because we already knew that.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that I've never seen either of those shows, and I'm pretty sure that I'm never going to watch any of them. But if you tell me that I should, and that the quality of songwriting is worth the time.
Excellent. The last few years
have
been excellent
on American Idol. Yeah.
Oh, really?
The singer-songwriter.
Okay.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's entertaining, and there is some fluff here and there that you're probably, but
that's me.
Yeah, your dark self.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Okay, well that's encouraging.
Yeah.
I like to hear that.
I'm glad to see it. I think Randy and I are hopeful that more and more of the house concerts will pop up and give singer-songwriters the opportunity to get their stuff out there and to be heard, because that's the key, is to be heard. Bars and places like that, your background noise.
Yes,
so
at best.
Yeah, so that's I was glad to hear that and see that.
Yeah, okay, that's encouraging. I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah,
that was worth the trip to Texas.
Hey. So, if you could play any place on the entire planet, where would it be?
I'm in it.
Yay, good answer.
Just invite me back. I'll come back. No,
well, of course.
Really, the answer is it's kind of what you just alluded to. Anywhere that the song is of interest to the people who are there. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, what's the point? Like I have a buddy who I play with. I've been playing with him on and off for about 35 years. My friend Jeff, and I will only play bars if I'm playing with him, because he's a very powerful singer, but we're playing together, and I get to play a lot of guitar, and I get to, it's kind of like exercise for me. It's just another part of what I do. I'm a guitar player, and I play on other people's records, and it's something that I love doing. Maybe I'm not sure if I love it more than writing songs. I really love the guitar. I love the way there's so many different sounds that can come out of it, and it's so determined by what angle you hit the string, how hard, where on the string you do it. And it's really a brilliant instrument. And I think if I had focused on classical music, I wouldn't have been unhappy. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't sufficiently disciplined. But I love playing guitar, so I'll play bars with him. Mm-hmm. But I won't sing in a bar anymore. And not because I I think it's a worthy thing to do. And I'll go to bars sometimes, and I may choose to go to a bar because there's live music, just because I like the idea that there's live music.
Right.
But I don't feel it serves the songs that I've written. And I don't think it's so. Any place where people are listening like this is lovely, and it's it's wonderful that there are rooms like this. So there's so many of them in the States.
We hope to see more,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Yeah. Well, Noah,
Yes, ma'am.
I think that for now, that'll probably do it this evening, unless you have anything you'd like to share with us.
I would like to share my feelings of gratitude to you and you and you and you and you and you.
Well, we're
and you.
very grateful that you came all this way. It really, really means a lot.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And I think you'll be real happy with what comes out of this room for you. And I want to thank again our studio audience here, and for everybody out there on the web. Keep on tuning in, because you are in the music room.